denizens of Moonhaven Falls, and a happy and finally appropriately chilly Yule to all of you. And what a month it's been. We've seen heat waves, we've seen blizzards, we've seen beaches, and a truly epic family intervention from everyone's favorite curmudgeonly uncle Igneous. The good news? The town square is back to its charming festive self, complete with a brand new, rather anomalous fountain, though more on that later. But tonight, we are peeling back the curtain just a touch, because while you were all shaking the sand from your winter boots or defrosting your palm trees, something rather significant was brewing in the skies above us. Something that, perhaps, we should be a little bit grateful about, at least once we understand the full story. You see, after the meteorological maelstrom created by our young ambitious dragons Burn and Frost had finally settled, thanks to Uncle Igneous's timely intervention, the air was, well, it was still crackling. Not with residual magic, necessarily, but with something far more insidious. The two young dragons, still bristling with indignation, settled into the tallest peak overlooking Moonhaven Falls. Below them, the town, slowly, grudgingly, returned to its pre-squabble state, and, as night descends, our story begins.
Honestly, Frost, you always overdo it. If you'd just let my tropical currents flow, the townfolk would have had a unique Yule. Think of the novelty. Think of the colorful cocktails.
Novelty? Burn, they ended up wearing swimsuits in a blizzard. Your unique currents nearly flash-boiled Old Man Hemlock's prize-winning pumpkins, and don't even get me started on the structural integrity of the public market. My correction was entirely necessary.
Correction? Necessary? You mean overcorrection, don't you? You turned the square into an ice rink, and the ice wouldn't have melted for days, maybe months. My heat is at least predictable and doesn't cause mass hypothermia.
Now they continued their petty squabble, a familiar rhythm by now, when a shadow, deeper than the coming night, suddenly passed over them. This wasn't an ordinary cloud, though. It was too dense. Too sullen. Frost noticed it first, squinting, his sapphire eyes narrowing.
What in the name of the frozen waste is that?
Burn, momentarily forgetting her indignation, focused her keen sight as well, her scales shimmering as a dull, oppressive weight, not of their direct making, suddenly pressed down on them.
It's a grumble gale, and a big one, too. Looks like it's heading right for Moonhaven Falls.
Now, a grumble gale, for those of you unfamiliar, is a truly miserable entity. Not dangerous in a physical sense, but it can be spiritually devastating. You see, a grumble gale feeds on petty arguments, unresolved grievances, and the general malaise of communal irritation. It amplifies them, twisting every minor disagreement into a bitter, festering resentment. And Yule, with its forced family gatherings and heightened expectations, was prime feasting season for a grumble gale. And this one was quite clearly drawn by the recent and rather spectacular discord in Moonhaven Falls.
Oh, by the great ancient glaciers. It was us, Burn, our idiotic squabble.
It brewed this thing right over their heads.
A tropical Yule versus a frozen Yule, and we attracted this? This cloud of passive aggression? Frost, this is far worse than a few singed eyebrows.
Yes, we have to stop it. We simply cannot let that thing reach Moonhaven Falls. Not after Uncle Igneous made us promise to be good.
And the siblings immediately launched themselves into the air, wings beating with renewed purpose. The grumble gale was closer now, a swirling mass of dark mist and faint echoing whispers of past arguments.
All right, I'm going to hit it with a blast of searing fire. That should disperse it.
And she did exactly that, gathering her power and unleashing a torrent of dragonfire. The grumble gale, however, merely absorbed it, growing slightly denser, a faint, mocking mutter seeming to emanate from its depths.
Useless, sister! Stand aside! This will shatter it!
And then he roared, belching forth a torrent of crystalline ice shards and frigid winds. The shard slammed into the cloud, but again, it simply absorbed the energy, coalescing tighter, the whispers within growing a fraction louder, sounding vaguely like someone complaining about a badly wrapped present from last year.
Frost, it's absorbing direct attacks. My fire just makes it angrier. Your ice makes it colder.
We'll need to hit it harder. Together. A lightning strike.
And begrudgingly, they coordinated, a rare display of true teamwork, combining their elemental energies into a crackling bolt of magical lightning. This lightning slammed into the Grumblegale's core. The cloud shuddered, expanded, and then contracted again, with a sound like 1,000 sighs of disappointment from judgmental family members that they were wasting their potential on this. The Grumblegale wasn't dispersing. It was feeding.
It's no use. Direct force just makes it stronger. It thrives on conflict and energy.
So what do? We can't just let it engulf the town. Imagine Yule morning with everyone arguing about who has the bigger stocking. The horror!
Now Frost and Burn circled the looming threat, desperation growing. Moonhaven Falls sparkled below, oblivious to the existential threat of bad vibes heading their way. Both siblings were now at a loss as to how they could combat the gloom that they had drawn, and both were getting a bit desperate when Burn's gaze fell upon the still-recovering town square. There, the last vestiges of their clashing magic had created a strange phenomenon. The melted water, a lingering souvenir of their battle, maintained a consistent, comfortable temperature. It was cool, but not cold. Refreshing, but refusing to evaporate or freeze. A magical anomaly.
That lingering warmth from our combined magic, it's stable? Even now?
And the cold I introduced, it seems to have created a stable pocket too. It's almost like our magic, when the attacks cancelled each other out, left behind a foundation of some sort.
It was then that they exchanged a look, a spark of understanding passing between them for the first time in weeks.
Burn, we can't fight this thing. I think we have to deflect it. It's drawn to negative energy, to arguments. What if we created something so overwhelmingly positive, so brimming with sheer, unadulterated goodwill, that this thing couldn't stand it? A ward of wholesome cheer.
Byrne nodded to her brother, her previous petulance entirely gone as the siblings dropped into the town center again, both shifting to smaller forms to conserve space.
A ward of cheer, but how would we do that? We could have maybe used the lingering magic to stabilize the fountain before, but it's already fading. The Grumblegale's too strong for just lingering magic now.
Precisely. It's going to need more. It needs memories, and our best ones. The ones where we actually got along. If we use the lingering magic to shape the form, and our shared joy to ignite the power.
And they shifted forms again, looking almost human now as they took in the scene in the deserted town square. The Grumblegale was visibly closer now, its oppressive aura beginning to seep into the air around them, a low, mocking chuckle seeming to ripple from its mass, like it knew what they were attempting, and it seemed amused by the futility of their gesture.
All right, Frost, well, how do we build this feel-good fortress and make it stick?
Frost didn't reply, beginning instead to channel his ice magic, not to freeze, but to reinforce the flowing water from the anomaly. Byrne, with a surprising delicacy, used her heat not to, burn, but to warm and shape the surrounding stone, making it magically pliant. The siblings worked in tandem, not arguing now, but rather communicating with subtle nudges and shared intent, both focused on the same goal.
We'll need to sculpt it into something that represents our truce, our friendship.
Something that shows we can act together, huh? Despite how different we are?
As they worked, the Grumblegale lashed out, tendrils of icy despair and fiery anger, projections of the cloud's essence, snaking down, trying to disrupt their focus. To its shock, however, the siblings ignored its attempts at causing friction between them, too lost now in reminiscing as they worked together to repair the fountain and build their ward.
You remember that time we found Uncle Igneous's secret stash of enchanted rock candy, and he chased us all the way to the Sunstone Peaks?
Yes, and then we shared it, hiding in the cave and giggling so hard we nearly choked. Oh, that was a good day.
As they spoke, focusing on the genuine warmth of a shared, if mischievous, memory, the fountain began to change. Where the base had been a plain basin before, intricate carvings of their own forms began to slowly emerge from the stone, growing with each shared antidote. The two worked in tandem as the grumble gale poured down frustration and antipathy at them. But as they shared stories, Frost began shaping the water. He made it flow from the sculpted hands of their likenesses. Byrne, however, etched their images, and the statues grew, shoulder to shoulder, but facing away, guarding one another's backs. Even as pure, clean water poured from the statues, a stream from each of the sibling statues arcing in the air to twist gently around them, a spiral of pure, refreshing water, buoyed by their genuine affection for one another.
Hey, do you remember the time you taught me how to warm my scales in the geothermal vents? Before Uncle Igneous figured out we rerouted them?
Ha! Or the time you showed me how to make those ice sculptures that looked like tiny, grumpy little gnomes.
With each memory, each genuine smile that touched their faces, a powerful and shimmering light seemed to pulse from the newly formed fountain, and the grumble gale recoiled, howling in impotent frustration, its tendrils of negativity dissipating like smoke in a strong wind, weakened by the overwhelming power of actual, shared positive memories. The ward solidified, a brilliant, almost blinding aura of warmth and happiness emanating from the fountain. The grumble gale, sensing this sudden and insurmountable wave of positivity, wavered, slowed, its dark mass rippling with what could only be interpreted as utter repugnance. You see, it hated cheer, abhorred genuine happiness. The combined might of the two formerly bickering dragons, choosing to cooperate and reminisce in the name of goodwill, was in fact creating a ward of pure, unadulterated holiday spirit. Slowly, agonizingly, for the cloud, it began to turn, and it grumbled, audibly this time, a sound like 1,000 annoyed, frustrated huffs, and, with a final defeated shudder, veered sharply away from Moonhaven Falls, retreating back into the clear, empty skies beyond, now significantly diminished. And behind it, the fountain pulsed, its light receding now, leaving behind the gently bubbling water that helped the air in the square maintain a consistent and comfortable 70 degrees. The statues of Byrne and Frost, side by side, gleaming in the pre-dawn light.
Well, that was far more work than fighting, but it feels right,
Indeed. And look, Byrne, the fountain maintains a perfect temperature, a subtle reminder of, our influence, and a quite useful one for the town, too, especially since the wood is powered by their happiness. The happier they are, the stronger the effect is, though I'm afraid it will likely fade without constant cheer, at least until the next major holiday.
Let's not tell anyone we decided to save them, huh? They might expect it again.
And as the siblings chuckled, the first rays of the Yule morning peeked over the horizon, illuminating the quiet, peaceful town. Their moment of amusement was interrupted, however, as a figure stepped out of the deeper shadows of the town hall, where he had been observing the entire spectacle. Surprisingly, it was Gary.
I must admit, I was contemplating stepping in myself, but once you two started focusing on memory instead of brute force, it is rare to see such collaborative ingenuity. A fine piece of work, that.
Byrne and Frost jumped, startled, nearly shattering a nearby lamp-post. Gary, however, merely chuckled, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement, and then melted back into the shadows, leaving the two chagrined dragons to wonder just how much the Lich had actually seen as they left. Below them, the townfolk would soon discover their strange new fountain, never knowing about the subtle, cheerful ward that had saved their holiday from an invisible blight of bad vibes. A secret guardian, born of a dragon sibling's rivalry, and redeemed by unexpected cooperation and shared nostalgia. And there you have it, folks. Just another day in Moonhaven Falls. So, the next time you're enjoying a perfectly temperate snowball fight, or feeling an inexplicable urge to apologize during a petty squabble, maybe spare a thought for the sometimes misguided but ultimately well-meaning draconic protectors. And maybe, just maybe, send a thank you to Gary for, well, whatever it is Gary does. This has been Audric Cashmere. Happy holidays, everyone.